Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Biohacking Beauty Podcast, where we dive deep into the science and secrets of achieving youthful, radiant skin. I'm your host, Amitai Eshel, and as always, we're here to simplify the journey to healthier, more vibrant skin by uncovering the latest in skincare, biohacking, and anti aging. Today's guest is someone who truly embodies the intersection of aesthetics and health innovation. We're joined by Jamie McGuire, a licensed esthetician and the visionary behind Jamie Ann Aesthetics. Jamie has a wealth of knowledge in advanced skincare techniques and a deep understanding of how to enhance natural beauty. She's not just about making skin look good today, but also about ensuring it remains youthful and healthy for years to come. And that is obviously what we are about. And that's why it was actually incredible for me to have a conversation with her because I resonate with who she is and what she's about so much. In this episode, what you can expect to hear is Jamie sharing her expert insights on how to build a skincare or a lifestyle that will lead to the healthiest skin and the most impressive, the most youthful skin possible. um, Not only addressing immediate concerns, but also biohacks or health tips to really tackle the aging process. We'll dive deep into her favorite treatments, the science behind them, what both of us, I would say, agree that are not good ideas, her struggles with Botox and where she is today, her passion around how we age from the inside out, what affects diet, things like that affect our aging process from the inside out. um, and how we create a lifestyle that leads to long lasting results. uh, Incredible episode. I'm very excited for all of you to listen to it. And as always, this episode is brought to you by Young Goose Skincare, the biohacking skincare line that's revolutionizing the way we approach anti-aging and skin rejuvenation. Of course, the brand that I co-founded together with my wife and my life, Anastasia. At Young Goose, we believe that skincare should be both effective and empowering, giving you the tools to age gracefully, confidently, and trying to do it as as in not to be perceived as aging. I lost my words there for a second. So get ready to learn how to take your skin and your skincare routine to the next level with Jamie McGuire. Let's get started. All right, Jamie, welcome to the Biohacking Beauty Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
It is, it's a testament to how much I specifically like kind of your messaging, where you're coming from, that you actually are like, you're for now recommending a different skincare brand, and I invited you on the podcast. So that
Yes.
tell people like how much I think you can contribute uh, I believe, like the conversation around skin health and beauty.
Yeah.
So maybe I know it's okay because I had obviously on your Instagram, someone else has asked you about that in the podcast. So let's start by telling people how old you are, because they're not going to believe.
Oh, yeah. So I just had my 42nd birthday. So that was just a few days ago.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
So Jamie, how about we start by you kind of telling, although I would have introduced you more appropriately in the beginning of this podcast, how about you tell people kind of what you do and, where you're coming to this conversation from?
Yeah, sure. I mean, my history is in skincare aesthetics. So I'm a licensed esthetician. I've recently started to kind of rediscover my passion for skincare in a different form, which has been through internal health. So I got my gut health nutritionist certification because I find that a lot of skin health and skin disorders all stem from inside. So my business and practice has evolved from, giving facials in office and bouncing around, from different types of treatments and things that I've seen work, not work, and really finding that kind of less is more, and it's really all about what you do on your own at home that really makes the biggest impact and the biggest difference. And I just see so many women out there really lost and confused and just bombarded with constant information, whether it be misinformation, guided information, that just seems to overwhelm everybody. And I really want to just wipe the slate clean for everyone and just kind of give a basic understanding of what real skincare is and real skin health, overall health, and the importance of not really letting too much noise cloud, your judgment and what the, root really is. One being internal and the second thing being what you do on your own with quality products. And
Yeah.
I think we all get so lost in the different things that are out there and different credentials, right? Like dermatologist versus esthetician and, functional medicine versus traditional primary care. And, I've found my path to be very specific now. And I've really realized and had an eye-opening moment to seeing what women out there have to deal with, men also, but, most of my clients are women, and what they deal with day to day with all of this confusion. And I really want to make it as simplistic as possible with results. And
Yeah.
that's a hard combination to find when, especially, you're going into like a dermatology office or a med spa and they're recommending, this laser and these invasive treatments and sending you home with 5 different skincare products from 5 different brands. And, you're still not happy or satisfied with your skin. You just don't know what to do, who to listen to, and where to begin. So I'm hoping to be that platform and that voice for women now that my practice has completely moved away from in-office facials, which I don't necessarily agree with anymore,
Yeah.
for skin health, for longevity skin health. I just really want to help make it as easy as possible and as accessible as possible. And I think even with what I say sometimes can be confusing also. There's no perfect way, but I'm trying to kind of, as I, have in my bio, it's like disrupting mainstream beauty standards. So we just want to start with getting rid of some of the stuff that we've all thought to believe was skin, beauty, and health. It's just not what it is, what it was, back in the day. It's really taken a turn to be something, in my opinion, that's kind of ugly. And I want to get rid of that stigma.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I resonate with your mission statement or with your view of, I think of the I would say like the decision tree that needs to happen for someone to have like, good skin health over time. And maybe you can let's see if you can describe my philosophy, which matches yours in a better way than I do, because as we grow older, especially not as we grow older, but as we are becoming older and older biologically, our skin has a tendency to not be able to live up to the stimulation that we give it. And we think of a laser, which, by the way, like, I wouldn't say the things I'm against are maybe the harsher things. So I'm not going to pick on laser, but let's say we think of like radiofrequency as a stimulation for repair. Although on paper that is true, you are the one that needs to repair. Like, it is the signal for repair. And if your skin, even if it's optimal, there is one could argue that you're not going to be able to repair well. But your skin is the one that then is going ahead and trying to follow the instruction that this in-office treatment provided it. And the problem with our skin is that it responds with scarring and with a non-functional, it responds to heavy stimuli in an over exaggerated way, and it just tries to like calcify the area. It just tries to kind of hold things together, and we don't actually turn back time. We don't even get, for the most part, if someone did a real statistic, free of the risk of lawsuits by the big companies that own these devices, I think the satisfaction rate over time by radio frequency microneedling, radio frequency, not normal microneedling, but like radio frequency,
Morpheus.
Morpheus 8, all of those, or even like a HIFU, Kybella, all of those. I think probably the satisfaction rate is like lower than 10%. And I'm very generous right now.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
And that is why I agree with you so much that if we can break any stimulation down to its lowest result producing fragment, that is what we should aim at. We should not aim at there is a brand called Muesli, which I love their concept. But for example, they advertise their tretinoin. So their entire idea is, let's sell people things that they need prescription for, but we're going to have them like fill up a questionnaire online, and then it basically, we can chalk it up to like telemedicine, and then we can give them things.
Right.
So like they're going to give you tretinoin, and their ad is 20 times stronger than retinol. Well, that is not something that that's not a logic that someone should employ when choosing their skincare.
No.
Yeah.
That to me, when I hear that, says AKA damage your barrier. That's what 20% stronger retinol means to me. When I would run for the hills. That's a constant red flag that I see.
Yeah, and I think that the problem is as you said before, that's kind of the problem of indoctrination, but also I believe like inclinations as human beings to solve problems. We have like a little bit of a problem that bothers us. It's not enough to get us moving forward. More pressure and stress or whatever, subconscious getting to the conscious level, blah, blah, blah. And then it's too much for us to handle, or it is enough to stimulate us to react. And we want something that would solve it as fast as possible, basically.
The quick fix. Everybody wants instant gratification, no matter how it's marketed or what it takes to get there. In my opinion, it seems that way these days.
So what would you say? Let's just like try to find even like let's try to find the middle ground, okay? When would you say, or what type of facial from a professional would you say is even justified? None?
Well, to a degree, I do think that none. And I do explain this in different ways to specific people that reach out to me when I do generalize things like invasive lasers, right? So when somebody says, I have really bad acne scarring, what do you suggest? That's when I ask them, well, it kind of depends on what is the most important thing to you. Because technically, when you have that really bad, like ice pick scarring, something that really affects your day-to-day, your self-esteem, there's only so much topical skincare is going to do. We have to be very realistic about that. That's what makes me, so furious about some product lines that just claim that, this is going to be what will get rid of X, Y, and Z. It's just not that way. And it takes a lot of consistent work and years with a specific product line to even see a slight change when it comes to things like scarring, for instance, right?
Yeah.
So I don't even bother trying to go down that rabbit hole, because I'm like, if this is something that really bothers you, do you really want to give, 4 more years to this?
4 more years, $5,000 in products?
I mean, just, and I get it. There is ways, but again, it's just such a minute change when it comes to certain things. So I ask them, is it more important for you to compromise your barrier, damage your, that barrier level, and see a deeper result? For me personally, if I had that kind of scarring and those deep rooted ice pick acne scars, I would probably go an invasive laser route. I probably would say, what's more important to me, diminishing the scars more and compromising my barrier, or maintaining my barrier and seeing very little results with the scarring. So there is a place for these things. And that's what I don't talk about it often because I don't want people to go that route. That's kind of, and most of the clientele and people that I work with are not dealing with, the majority are not dealing with deep scarring issues. It's more current inflammation and acne, and that we can really, work on and fix without having to do any of those kind of treatments. So I always say, please avoid all of that. Don't damage your barrier. It's much harder to repair your barrier than just put in the work right now and kind of, get to the root cause, do proper skincare, and, get results that way. So there's certain lasers that, I don't have personal experience with them, which most of what I talk about is based on my own personal experience on myself or my clientele. So I don't have clientele that, they listen and they don't do the lasers. They wanted to maintain their barrier. So we did other treatments in office. But, I know that like CO2 laser is a really crazy one. And, even if you don't have scarring, if you're of mature skin type and you're like in your 60s or something, maybe that's gonna give you the newly rejuvenated skin. You can never touch sun again after that. You better stay inside a cave for the rest of your life. But hey, at that point, you're definitely doing the old lady vibe where you're wearing like a big hat and, maybe sun is just not your thing anymore. But, I'm not somebody who agrees with staying out of the sun. But, maybe that's your route. I don't think that, and there's so many people out there who have great results with these things, and more power to them. My whole point is just saying, know the risks involved and why compromise your skin when we should be nurturing it and feeding it all the proper ingredients and proper skincare and being gentle to it. That's what I've done my whole skin career, my whole life. And I've seen the results from it. I didn't have great skin always. I just stuck with it. I gave it the time that it deserves. I didn't start, bouncing around from trend to trend. I worked at a medical spa. I didn't allow them to touch my skin. When I went to school for aesthetics, I didn't let them practice on me and use their products. Like, I was religious, and I see the proof in the pudding. And I see with my clients, so it's not to demonize all lasers. Now, there's IPL, I think, has a place. It doesn't damage the barrier. It brings things to the surface. It can make melasma worse. You got to be careful who you go to. You got to make sure somebody knows what they're doing. And, those pigmentation spots can come to the surface and slough off. I've done IPL a few times. I'm not opposed to that. And most other lasers that maybe aren't like crazy invasive, like CO2, like Fraxel or Resurfix or things like that. Yeah. I mean, they're fine, but I've heard bad and good. I haven't heard anybody who has like this amazing transformation where their skin's incredible. So it's just like the money, the downtime. Why put your skin through that? Like, why?
From a kind of super longevity standpoint, we also want to consider the fact that we are actually, so this is what I'm going to say right now. No one can argue against what maybe someone can argue against the results. Okay. Although I have myself personally have never met anyone that has enjoyed the results that are claimed to be provided.
Yeah.
Never met.
Never.
Having said that, okay. What I'm going to say two things. First of all, if you want the best results, you better come to the table as the best version of yourself, right? Yes. Like you are now a rejuvenation athlete, if you would, right? You need to make sure that you are as much as an athlete, like the Tom Brady takes care of himself, like before he goes to the field, eats right, sleeps, exercises, consumes this, gets sun exposure at the correct times, blah, 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 all the good stuff, mindfulness, all of that. You better come after months of doing that to a procedure that requires more from your skin.
After years of doing
years. Now, the second thing is that even if you did that, you are now demanding something from your skin that is unnatural.
Yes.
Okay. So de facto, you are actually going to age your skin. From a biological standpoint, you are exhausting something called the Hayflick limit, which is the amount of times your cells can divide, can kind of multiply. Okay. So from a super long, like just from looking at aging as a whole, the cells have now lost telomere length. They have divided, and there are more mistakes in their DNA, for example, etc. even if you were optimal. The reason you want to be optimal is to minimize that, right? But again, that doesn't actually work that way. You cannot stay in a plateau. So de facto, you have now aged your skin, and that is why I think the message, I'm gonna pick on Morpheus 8 again, because I think it's the one of the most misleading marketing machines out there, because a person can tell you, well, they recommend 4 treatments within 3 months. Well, for the first 6 months, what you're seeing is actually inflammation in the tissue, and you're not actually seeing the full form result of your skin like recovering from that inflammation. So if you're getting like multiple treatments, you're not even allowing the skin to repair itself, right? But the company is going to show, like the research that the company is showing is like one treatment, waiting for, first of all, like very, very selective, but like waiting for that skin to recover completely, and then measuring like collagen. What they're not telling you is that collagen is now scarred. They're not telling you how this collagen looks like and things like that. And for most of the time, these people are trying to avoid surgery, right? They're trying to like avoid surgery. So you're getting actually further away. You're actually making yourself a less of a good candidate for surgery, actually, when you are when you are going to get it.
Mm-hmm.
And also you're making yourself, in 10 years, you are going to look older than what you would have without doing that treatment.
Yep. And here's the thing that I have to admit, because I've always been open and honest about everything I've done to myself. I did Morpheus 8 quite a bit on my stomach and on my neck only. I would never touch it with my face. But, I thought that I saw results. But keep in mind that there is a placebo effect too that does happen with this. How can I really be? I mean, there was nothing drastic. It's like maybe in 3 months, I thought that my stomach looked a little bit better. Now, that could have been related to diet. I could have been tanner during that time, so everything just looks a little bit nicer. I could have been working out a little bit more. There's so many little factors, because this comes, the results come 6 months down the line. And then I had heard your podcast with Ben Greenfield, probably like in the middle of me doing, or after I had kind of finished with Morpheus. Like I didn't plan on going back again. And I had heard your podcast talking about this exact thing, where you're causing damage. And if your body doesn't repair fast enough and produce that collagen, like you're just causing more and more damage. And even more so, like you're saying now, even from just doing it once, it can still be, it's causing all that damage anyway. And it just makes perfect sense to me. And I don't recommend radiofrequency now because of that. It's one of those things, I get asked about it all the time because I did do it and I was open about it. I don't think it's necessary. I think it's, again, one of those really cost heavy procedures that, again, I'd rather have somebody go do a tummy tuck over blasting themselves over and over again. Who knows what my stomach looks like now if I even wanted to do something like that, because I did Morpheus on my stomach so many times.
Thankfully, like your tummy is a significantly more forgiving area than your face. The neck is a different issue, because I would actually argue about something else completely, which is thyroid function.
Yeah.
So we don't actually want to use wave-based technology around the thyroid. I would actually not, like, the only thing that I would actually recommend is our beloved red light therapy. And it actually has, there are published studies that it helps with Hashimoto's and stuff like that. But anything that has like an ablative property to it and a disruptive property, obviously is not great to use around your neck. That's where your thyroid's at. That's number one. Number two, don't get me wrong. If someone did like one series of radiofrequency, Morpheus 8, whatever, Venus, like there is a bunch of them, right? I don't think it's the end of the world. The problem is this: they tell you the most deceiving thing you can ever hear. The results go away. The results don't go away, because the results are what you see when the entire like inflammation of the tissue subsided,
Mhm.
and you're left with a very thin layer of scarring. So what you saw are maybe placebo, but I would argue probably not. What you saw is inflammation of the tissue, which then resolved itself in scarring. So when people say the results went away, no, no, no. The results have arrived.
Mm.
And the problem is then they say, I need to do more of that, right?
Yes. Yeah.
That's the issue.
Hmm.
So, and by the time like that, by the time that person is going to get, opened up by a plastic surgeon, it will be a much harder task for that plastic surgeon. And we did, Kybella or high energy frequency ultrasound, high intensity frequency ultrasound are actually worse. They go deeper. So that's like, I think, I agree with what you're saying. I think it's not positive. There are innovations in the field. Before we even go to what I want to talk with you about, which is more the nutritional side, there are innovations that allow us to maintain more subcutaneous fat in our face, in our neck, body, which are positive as far as the volume in our face, which is what we want to get in the end.
Yes.
But any type of like ablative procedure is not going to get that. I would even stay away from anything that says, hey, I produce collagen for you. Okay.
Yes,
Normally it
I
means
agree.
scarring.
Yeah, I agree with that as well.
So let's talk a little bit about like you kind of rediscovering, well, not rediscovering, but taking the side of the fence of most of your skin health is coming from the inside. And that was kind of, by the way, what I was trying to get to begin with. What I said is like, if you want to rejuvenate your skin, that's a different conversation. But if we want to keep that tissue as youthful as possible, we really need to treat ourselves as the Tom Brady of skin health from the get-go. What is your take on like treating yourself well, as a whole, as a person, from the inside out, whatever, however you want to frame that?
Well, first is going to be diet for me. It's one of those things that I'm so passionate about, and I find to have been the biggest turnaround, mainly from, I was always kind of a healthy eater in person. Even though I was vegetarian at one point, and definitely was on the healthier side. This is more when it was like a trend to be
Mm-hmm.
vegetarian. So, it still had its health benefits, but it's like I didn't see how different it is today. Like if I was to be vegetarian today, I would look very different, to say the
Yeah.
least, right? But I've realized that when I would talk to my clients about this kind of stuff and have them switch up a lot of their understandings of healthy food and what's good for their bodies, that's when I would start to see the biggest changes, because these were my
Yeah.
clients that were coming to me for facials, and I was going through gut issues, and it was in this process of introducing more meat and really focused on how to get my gut healthy, because my skin was freaking out, and I was seeing clients in office day to day and talking about all this, my experience. And then they would say, oh my God, that sounds like me. I'm going to try that. Or, I went to this doctor. We would all just bounce off of each other about these different issues.
Mm-hmm.
And gut health stuff was just like, it was a wildfire across the board. And I was seeing their skin, and their
Yeah.
skin was inflamed, and we weren't able to really get to the bottom of it. Like, yeah, their facials helped a little bit, the products helped a little bit, but it wasn't like getting rid of it completely. And my skin was starting to react that way as well. And I was like kind of in their shoes finally, when I never really had skin issues. And so when I started to change up my diet and really like the whole thought process on so many things, like certain vegetables, most vegetables from, animal based, I never even cared necessarily about organic for a long
Yeah.
time. I was kind of like, I'm budget friendly, Trader Joe's shopper, like I realize what a significant impact it has on skin. And when I would make these changes and see the benefits of it, I would talk to my clients about it. They would make certain changes, things like oat milk. Oat milk was my biggest nemesis, still
Mm-hmm.
is, oats and oat milk. And that was one of my first things that I would have a lot of clients switch out, and they were feeling better just from making adjustments with that. Yeah.
Is your take against oatmeal more from its glycemic index? So the relationship we have with insulin sensitivity.
Yeah, that's a big component. The glyphosate's another. I know
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
many out there that are glyphosate free, but to me, it's just a pointless food, milk, whatever. It's causing bloating, it's causing gut issues, and the glycemic spike. You might as well go drink a Coca-Cola. It's the same reaction in your body, and people just
yeah.
don't know. And that all factors into your skin health.
Mm-hmm.
So, go
Actually,
ahead.
this maybe factors more than so. It's funny, and I want you to continue, but I just want to I have to say it. We talk about a lot of things. Like it's like CNN split screen. They bring some wacko, they bring someone that is more like sane, and
Sure.
they have the same screen time, so they think their opinion look balanced, right? Like it's probably somewhere in the middle. No. So we talk about a lot of things and how they affect skin health, but to your point, glycation end products, glycation in general, the relationship of these sugar molecules that attach to proteins, these love collagen in the skin. And they drive skin aging disproportionately to how they affect other systems in the body.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
It's cool when you kind of because you obviously have the really highly educated science background, which is the stuff that I just don't even touch. I'm just all about logic. It
Yeah.
does. I mean, I can listen to the sciencey stuff and understand it. I can't speak on it the same way. I can't explain it the same way. I'm just logically these things make sense. So
Yeah.
I try and find my little ways to make sense of exactly the things that you can
Yeah.
explain in a whole bigger spectrum, basically, which I really like, because it does, and people receive information differently too. So it's great to have both ways of receiving it. But yeah, exactly, that it's one of those things that it's just going to overall affect the body, which in turn overall affects your health. We need a balance. It doesn't mean that you should avoid everything always. I do to a degree, but I'm now at the Tom Brady level of my skincare and health game. That's where I thrive and what my lifestyle choices are. So it doesn't mean that has to be everybody. That's not, that's not realistic. But there are certain things that you can make very easily, changes and improve upon in order to have certain things go better for you.
Yeah.
Skin health, overall health, day to day, no brain fog, fatigue, all of it is combined. And I've gone through it all. I've felt it all. I've tried it all. And I've really realized okay, I'd rather be on this side of things and feel my best and look my best than even, but I gave up drinking this year and just, there's just things that I think when you get to a certain place that are really shine through is to be more important than others.
And I think, and you said it very well, when we need canaries in the coal mine, right? You are, I don't care if you can explain the science or not. What I care about is that you've gone through, you are you are an early adopter of trends and opportunities to test how things work, which I think is admirable, by the way. As someone that earns their living by the way that their skin looks, for the most part, it's very admirable that you are so open to experimentation, because it doesn't always go well, right? So what I care about is that we need to have people that are all in, that will try, that will test every theory, so they can come to someone who doesn't have the time, the interest. They just want to get a laundry list from most effective to, if you wanted to do that, that's fine, but it's only going to add 5% to whatever you're doing, right? That is what's important. Like, that's why people like you should be giving the advice, right? So how about the process? I mean, we had a conversation like that. I'm like, you're like, well, I don't really like retinol. I was like, okay, you just didn't try the right retinol. We're going to send you bioretinol, and you're going to understand the difference. And kind of what I said, here is what you're going to see. And you said, well, that makes sense, because that's the reason I don't use retinol. So it's very, but you are open to trying it, and that's, I think, beautiful.
Well, I will say though, yes, thank you, and I appreciate that. However, and I'm just being honest, I am not the person to experiment with everything. I really am not. I mean, I've branched out more because of recent things like Botox poisoning and when we had our conversation and knowing that there was this other product line that I was considering looking into before you and I even spoke. So there was a consideration, but I am somebody who's been with the same product line for 15 years. And I am like, if it's not broke, why fix it? I'm not going to mess with it. I don't want to mess with my own skin. I don't need to experiment with other things. I don't need to go out there and try every laser, try every chemical peel, try every treatment. So that's where I was like, I'm not going to risk my own skin. I'm going to speak on what I personally know. And if you want to take that advice, by all means. It doesn't mean that, I am always going to be, the expert in every single realm. I'm going to talk about, though, what has worked for me and what's worked for my clients. And that's enough for me to be able to speak highly on certain things and to advise against others. So I am open, probably now more than ever, to more experimentation, because there's just things that I'm, realizing that aren't all bad. And I'm so much more excited about and curious about. And again, when I have a conversation with somebody like you, where, yes, I'm very anti-retinol, I'm very anti-tretinoin and things like that, but then you explain it in a different form where this is a different type of retinol, a bioretinol, and the difference with it, then that sparks my interest, and that aligns with what I'm talking about and what I believe in when it comes to skincare. So it's just about, it has to work for both of us, right? And it has to align. And that's where I do agree that it does when it comes to certain things.
I will push back about the fact that I think you do experiment a lot, because you were a vegetarian. You did do, are you fully carnivore now, or did you do a 30-day challenge only?
I'm animal-based. I never went fully carnivore, but animal-based is definitely what you can label me.
I think this is obviously extremely rare just in general in the public, right? But I think it is a very interesting, I'll give you an example. So there is a doctor that speaks a lot about animal-based, and he does jujitsu, and I'm obviously obsessed about jujitsu. So I had the opportunity to reach out to him because I wanted to understand how to manage energy levels and what to expect being on a carnivore diet and expending so much energy. And you can't find a million people who are doing that. Normally people, exactly. So I think it is very rare to find someone who has gone through many or a few stages of, I would say, kind of focal points of diets, right? And understand how it relates to keeping youthful skin. That, I think, is a rare find, I would say.
Yeah, okay, then I definitely agree with that. And yeah, I forget about my vegetarian transition to the animal-based. But keep in mind, though, this wasn't even an experiment. It just was logic to me. It's just something that I didn't really have to try super hard to convince myself to go that route. It was like, this makes the most sense. And why are we all not realizing it the same way? I guess it's kind of like, when I'll just keep doing it and I'll just keep talking about it and I'll just keep showing people the benefits and how it does help and how it can, fix different issues, health issues, autoimmune issues, skin issues, just overall health, feel better, lose weight. I mean, across the board. So yeah, it was something that was a no-brainer for me.
And by the way, you don't have to have an autoimmune issue, or you don't have to have a medical issue, sensitivity, to look to lower your inflammatory load or lower the activity of your of your immune system.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that ages you the fastest is immune compromisation. So, like basically challenges to your immune system.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I'm
And
surprised I don't look 75 right now with what I just went through with my immune system and my inflammation with Botox poisoning and
yeah,
MCAS.
so let's talk about that because this is
Yeah.
very, very interesting. What happened? So, how long have you been doing Botox, and then kind of what happened?
So I was doing Botox probably for about 10 years, every 3 months. I didn't do like crazy amounts. I'd do like 20 units here, sometimes 40 units. I'd get it in my neck. And I loved it. It was just it was my 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
I talked about all my skincare and I said, but I also do Botox now and then. These are my little things. This is all that I do. And then my last treatment that I got, I went home and within like maybe a couple days, I was just sitting on my couch and doing some gua sha on my face. When you've been doing it 10 years, Botox, it's like you don't think about, you're not supposed to lay down for 4 hours or 24 hours after, or not 24 hours, 4 hours. You're not supposed to work out for 24 hours. You have your little rules that you don't do the day of or
Don't
within the
wash your
24
face, blah, blah,
Yes.
blah.
Well, no, you wash your face at night, but there's the little things that obviously, but I think I was even at a point where I could do whatever I wanted. I didn't need to like abide by the rules. This is like just in case, right? And especially for providers, they're going to tell you all of the things that you shouldn't do because they want to cover their ass. If they have like a weird reaction, it's like, oh, well, did you go lay down 4 hours after? Whatever. So I, again, wasn't even considering it. This was a couple days after I'd actually done a podcast, like a couple days before. And I was doing a gua sha treatment on myself. And I pushed Botox into my lymphatic system. Literally, I did the podcast one day, and the next day I talked about Botox on this podcast and being okay with doing it, a little bit and open and honest about all the things that I did. And next day, I'm like in a panic state. I mean, the amount of different symptoms I've gone through have been crazy. And, it is my fault. I did do this to myself. I will admit that. But this happens no matter what. You don't have to be doing a gua sha treatment. This is a toxin you're injecting into your body. You could literally just have it injected and within hours have the same reactions that I did without moving it around. You can both, and this all happened finding more out about Botox poisoning when it happened to me and I started talking about it, it was just this flood of people that came out that I never really heard about it before. It didn't happen to any of my friends. It wasn't something that was, in my opinion, common for the world that I lived in. I did not hear about Botox poisoning often at all or ever. I heard about breast implant illness all the time. I didn't hear about Botox poisoning, like ever. So when it happened to me and I posted it and I had so many women with the same issues, same symptoms, and people that have been dealing with this for years, these symptoms and these side effects.
Yeah.
It blew my mind. And the thing is that it compromised and scared my health so much that, and it affected it deeply, to where I'm still going through the process. I mean, the amount of supplements and how I eat, which was already good, but it has to be even more strict, to peptide therapy, to toxins. I mean, I can't be around anything with like fragrance or, certain smell. I can't handle any of it. Which is that's the good news in my opinion, because I want my life to be as, low tox as possible without all these, endocrine disruptors and the things that will age you faster and affect your health. But the thing is, my body got so overloaded with toxins and from this, Botox poisoning that my body couldn't handle anything.
Yeah.
So I was having these reactions to food that I wouldn't be able to eat all the time before, and food that is healthy that I love. I mean, I couldn't have anything with high histamines in it. Got rid of all the oxalate foods, which I didn't even eat a lot of high oxalate foods, but even things like sweet potato, I would sometimes have oxalates in them. But it affected me to the core where I will not get Botox anymore. It was that scary, and it's something that I never want to experience again. And when people ask me about Botox, I'm just like, just figure out if it's worth it, because you just never know. It's almost to a point now, because of our toxic environment and all the things, in the air and in our systems and everything. It's not even a fact of, if I'll get Botox poisoning. It's more of when.
Yeah.
That's where we're at now. I just don't think it's never going to happen to anybody if they just keep doing it.
100%. You know, we try to talk about when we talk about our SPF. A lot of the times you just mentioned glyphosates before, and now you mentioned like environmental toxin, and we a lot of the time we say, yeah, for sure, yeah, UV, whatever, but we also designed it to protect you against EMF, but also against like glyphosates, heavy metals, things like that, and people just they are oblivious to how crucial that is as far as like protecting our skin and our any entryway to our to our cells from these environmental toxins, environmental aggressors that are all around us. But that's just like a side note. So what are so now like stepping out of the comfort zone, I would say, of doing Botox.
Mm-hmm.
What are strategies that you found that can replace or stand, on their own, but are now taking front stage where Botox was?
Well, reality is one thing, because I'm having to just be realistic and understand that I am 42. I am going to age. That's just inevitable. There's no stopping it, and embracing it, and not being so obsessed. That was the first thing, because the clients that I work with and people, from Instagram and things like that are always asking, what else and what's this and what's that. I'm like, just take a breath. How about we don't even worry about it for a second? Like, let's just be okay with aging. Let's be okay with how we look. Let's make sure that we're optimizing all of our, health in general. Like, why are we so obsessed and focused? And don't get me wrong, I want to look great. It's not, there's no question. I will probably get a facelift one day. It's fine. It's just like the obsession drives me a little bit nuts. And the amount of DMs I get and conversations I have, I almost am just like, I don't want to do anything, and just show you that it's okay to not do anything. With that said, I, just started trying face taping. I do like it. I think it does help a little bit. I mean, obviously, this just all happened 4 months ago, so face taping is brand new to me, and we'll see how it does. I'm now just getting used to the fact that my forehead moves and that my lids are a little bit droopy, and I mean, oh well, like I can't obsess with these things. I'm a very like happy person. I have a great life. I love my work, and I do want to be more empowering for women that aren't, going to obsess so much that it affects them, or that they end up doing something unnecessary. Face taping is harmless, but it's also a 20-minute, add on to my nighttime routine. Is this going to be realistic for everybody? No. And there's plenty of nights that I'm exhausted. I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. So, I'm just gonna have to be okay with my wrinkles. I have gray hair. I'm not even getting my hair done. Like, there's so many things and changes that are happening right now I'll tell you, from 40 to 42, things have changed. There is no denying. And that is coming from a person who is on top of their health, eats right, does all things, peptides, whatever. And it's just becoming more accepting and stronger, and in your convictions of like, okay, I'm okay where I'm at right now, and I'm just going to work with what I have. Like, that to me is just the easiest way.
And I think there is something innately that is more impressive. At the end of the day, what do we want? Okay, we want to be impressive to ourselves, right? We want to inspire ourselves. Like the saying is like, you look better, you feel better, whatever. But really, it is, you look in the mirror and you feel pride and happiness about the person that you are, which then obviously translates out, right? I think being a person that, first of all, I want to say the truth. Personally, me, there is, I would not be able, like, let's say Anastasia tomorrow wanted to do Botox. I'll tell her to go for it.
Sure.
I want to be honest. But in my personal opinion, I think there is something more impressive with someone who doesn't do who their micro decisions day in day out creates a person that is, impressive over time. To me, that is more impressive than someone that, went ahead and did Botox, facelift, A, B, C, D, and like invested every dime they had on things that mask their age. I think there is less people innately are less impressed by that. Although it could be impressive, by the way. But people
No,
are
it actually, yes, I agree with that. But there is an impressiveness also. I do have a really close girlfriend who is very big on doing all the things, and she does invest her money into her looks, and it's almost like an art, to be honest with you. It is. It's kind
yeah.
of. I would never do it. It's not for me. It's not for most people. But she does it so well that as she looks at her body, her face is like a canvas, and she's changing it always and doing something to improve it. And I mean, in my opinion, I think she looks great. Others will, definitely say she's had work done. That's no, secret. But there's also something that's kind of commendable in going that route as well. I mean, because it's definitely
That's
not going to be
another
for everybody.
that's another canary in the coal mine, right? And she'll be able
Yeah,
to tell someone else, this is from the things that I've done. This was more, I would recommend
exactly.
this more or less, right? So we
Exactly.
need people like that.
Yeah.
So face taping is one thing. You did mention gua sha. Do you feel like the entire trend of, I just put it under the same kind of umbrella of like gua sha, facial cupping, facial, exercise or massage, facial yoga, all of those things. Do you feel like they have it? They move the needle as far as firmness and the wrinkles?
No, I don't yet.
Hmm.
I just kind of started. I was not a big gua sha fan for a
Yeah.
long time because I really like the plumpness in a
Hmm.
face. So it's
Hmm.
like the more that you're like moving that down, I know it's like lymphatic drainage, but it's kind of like I didn't like that contoured suction look with like this, concave thing. So I was really not. I didn't do gua sha in my treatments. I didn't offer it, whatever. So I've started to do it but very deep and hard because I'm trying to actually, get to the fascia and move the tissue. Whether or not I've seen any changes, I don't know, versus like just the face taping. I find that maybe the face taping will have more of a result just based on the length of time that it's sitting there overnight. And it holds things in place. So there's a chance that will have a better effect than something like gua sha. And the facial massage, I do like to stimulate the muscle. But again, I go deep. I get my knuckles in there and I like to like work my facial muscles. Not all the time.
Yeah.
It's like a deep tissue massage on my face. Whether or not that is why I look how I do today, I couldn't say that. But,
Yeah.
and that's to say, I think anybody can say that. There is a girl though on Instagram who's very impressive. And I think her name's like Anastasia. I don't know if you've heard.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Blonde.
Yes. Yes.
She's
She has like all the followers ever that are interested in it.
Yeah, but I mean, when you see her before and afters, and because she's somebody like me, where it's like I show my before and afters, and people are like, oh, it's not anything other than Botox or filler or whatever. But it's like I'm somebody who does support
Yeah.
her and believe her that this is all just facial massage and manipulation. She went to schools and taught with some people that were really incredible masseuses that did a lot of fascia work. So she's not just making this up out of nowhere. She has a lot of background.
Hmm.
And I think that her before and afters are very impressive, which gives
Yeah.
me, hope that like maybe this kind of stuff does really work. If you're very consistent, this takes a long time to get
Yeah.
to that result. But, she had big droopy eyelids. She's got eyebrows up to here now. And I don't know. I think that there is something to be said for the people that really put in the work like that.
Yeah, it's a great question, and I wonder. Yeah, I wonder where you will be a year from now, and what I will be able to kind of hear as far as like your takeaways over time. Again,
Yeah.
very very cool to have someone that's only starting out and kind of seeing where the journey is going. And you mentioned fillers.
Mm-hmm.
Fillers, for example, is something that I have a little bit of a worse opinion of
I know.
for a couple
I've
of,
heard your podcast about it, and I get it. And I've had them, and I was like, damn, okay, go on.
no. First of all, the first thing is mental,
Yeah.
because we have perception deviation. It means I look in the mirror every day. We have a 7.5-old son.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at a photo of him when he was like a month old, and I was shocked that I did not see the transformation at all. right?
Yeah.
I loved him every day the most I can love, right? But I did not see the transformation at all. And this is perception deviation. And it happens, the problem is, in my opinion, that it doesn't only happen to the subject, the patient, it mainly happens to the injector. Whereas they see so many fillers during the day, they see so many lips or nasolabial folds or whatever, that their perception of how the person should look like, or a optimal ratio should look like, deviates as well. So they would recommend more drastic or more units injected, etc., etc., etc. Number one.
That's a good point. Good point.
Yeah. Number two, it is the accumulation in the tissue, right? Like we say, oh, these things get out of our system after 9 months ish, but really we now know they stay for years, and they can also kind of morph into our tissue, and it's called gelling. It basically changes our tissue to a hybrid of that filler and our natural tissue, which is semi-permanent. It's actually permanent. There are treatments to reverse that, but it's permanent. So, and over time, we don't really know that. Like, I mean, there are people like Dr. The lady that has a lot of like GHKCU research, Pickett or whatever her name is, that claims that hyaluronic acid is cancer inducing, which she's wrong. But so I'm saying this is my problem with fillers. My problem with fillers is our inability to, as human beings, to treat them with rationality, rather than Botox, which you obviously had a horrible experience, but you survived, and you can just decide not to do Botox anymore. If fillers we found out that they are very bad for you, there really is not a lot you can do to reverse your decisions, if you would.
Now, how do you feel about the Dissolve, the hyaluronidase, I believe it's called? Because I've had filler dissolved, and because I noticed, because I went through a phase of a ton of filler a long time ago. And of course, they say, it dissolves itself or metabolizes within 9 months to a year or something like that. But I would add drops. I would never do like a ton. I would just add drops, but over time, that would start to accumulate. And then I started to notice like, oh, well, my cheek is starting to get a little bit like more droopy, or especially like if you had just I have very small lips and very small features. So if I just had too much in a lip, it would bring my lip down. So I was like, let's just dissolve all of it. Like, I just want it all gone. But do you think that I still have filler left in my lips? I don't feel like I have it. I mean, because I'm also digging into my face. You can feel filler when it's there.
Yeah.
I feel like it's all gone in my face.
So the truth is, we don't know, right?
Yeah.
Well, the only way to know is to open you up, and we don't want to do that. So
or ultrasounds show it. Yeah.
That's the thing. If there is gelling in the tissue, if this tissue is cannot be basically like contrasted, if there's no contrast, it would be difficult to tell. Number
Got
one.
it.
Number two, dissolving does rely on that contrast, right? And it does rely on that. So the more cross linkage so the more rigid the hyaluronic acid basically is, the filler is, the easier it is to dissolve it. So
like a Voluma versus like a Jupiter. Yeah.
Or like now there is one that is completely non-cross-linked, which I forget the name for, Profilio.
Oh, I haven't even heard of that one.
Yeah, like completely non-cross-linked. So the question is like, what stays in the tissue, etc. That's my opinion, is that I would even go for something that might be at the hand of an inexperienced person, might be more precarious, which is fat allocation. Taking fat from your abdomen and reinjecting.
Oh yeah, fat. That's what I recommend now. Fat transfer. If you guys have to do it, fat transfer. Just put your own fat back into, and it's still risky too, because if you don't have a person that knows what they're doing, and you're stuck with like fat pads that are not supposed to be where they're at, like you could look crazy.
Yes, you could look crazy. You need a lot of facial anatomy knowledge. What I would say is that right now there is a biologics aspect to it where they can be enriched. They can be distilled for their stem cells. They could be, you could inject it together with, exosomes, stem cells, things like that, which would actually benefit the entire tissue. So there's something to be said around that. But the innate need for a highly trained professional to be dealing with that makes it more expensive, and now we're getting into the heavy investment type issues, right?
Right.
So that's my opinion is, yeah, it's the same as your opinion. That
Now,
yeah.
sorry, the one I'm trying to, I have such a blank right now on the filler that I actually had this or have it in my temples. It's the one that produces your own collagen.
That's
What am I thinking?
Profilio.
So, okay, but it had a name before that, and I cannot believe I'm blanking on it right now.
Yeah. It's just not non-cross-linked. There is no filler per se. It's
Right.
supposed to then induce more collagen production.
Yes. And what is your take on that? So it's the same.
No. My first one, my take is this. Collagen, as we said, there is a problem when we're kind of having the skin produce more collagen at once than what we would have liked, than what it naturally kind of intends to produce. Basically, what we're signaling to some extent is an injury, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And with an injury comes scarring. So I would like to see, very intense like studies and stuff like that. I wouldn't want to be the guinea pig in that aspect. That's number one. If you wanted to do something like that, if someone wanted to do something like that, and the second thing is, it doesn't, the best case scenario, it's either accumulating in the tissue, the bad, or since it's completely non-cross-linked, it would get completely metabolized, etc., which would not leave you with very convincing results over time.
Sure.
As we said, collagen is not, that's not what you rely on for volume in your skin. So if you wanted to do something along those lines, I would recommend something like V-cell facial injections. So very small embryonic like stem cell injections, which would give you the same effect. It would give you some volume for, 2 months, okay? Which would be translated to a more youthful function in the skin. And then if you did something so you have like a high period, like a golden period of pushing your skin a little bit further, and subcutaneous tissue a little bit further, with things like, maybe deeper microneedling, or, things that you would go for normally, like, your BBL, they're like lasers that we spoke about before, that don't really give like those extraordinary results, but at least they're not that damaging.
Sure.
Or I would do like, facial acupuncture, or
that I did try. I do like that, and I actually I have to find somebody in Oklahoma to do it. But yeah, I did try that.
Yeah. Or so you have a period where you could do more with your skin. That would be, and again, you're piggybacking on the same signals that you would have if you did this non-cross-linked hyaluronic acid, at least it claims. So, just a better method, also more expensive, but a better method.
And I've also heard, I'm curious your opinion on, I've done a PRP injection one time. And now PRP injections are just, because normally you do a PRP injection after you've done microneedling treatment with PRP, right? And then they'll just take the rest of your platelets and inject it somewhere. But now people are just doing that as injections overall. I mean, that's something that I would not be opposed to doing, since it's your own platelets into your, body. It's not something that goes against my philosophies. I'm curious your opinion.
Yeah. So first of all, V-cell is blood derived, and you could call it the more advanced version of PRP.
Oh, okay. Good too.
The thing about just injecting it is that even though it does contain growth factors, I would pair it with something like, there is a cheaper option as far as like in biologics, exosome stem cells, PRP, etc., which is called inflammatory cytokines, which are literally you're injecting these signaling molecules for repair. Okay.
Okay.
Again, not a crazy results, but together with something that supports that repair, you will get nice results. The problem with PRP alone is that you are not, without microneedling, which I would not even understand why people would do, to be completely honest with you, you are missing out on the stimulation for repair. I mean, you could actually make up for it through other things. You could just do like 20 minutes of like red light therapy like every day. You would release some of those inflammatory cytokines from your mitochondria. That's part of like the whole process of infrared. But you wouldn't really, you're missing out on an important piece that you can act on. It's not like you need, but you're getting a net positive there. If it makes sense, I think it does.
No, it does, because it's all about like support. It's kind of, I think about it with some peptides that I take. Like one kind of has no point without the other. Or if you think about it even more simplistically with supplements like vitamin D, vitamin D3 without K2 doesn't really have its benefits. So I'm kind of thinking of it in that form.
100%. And it's very difficult to find a mechanism or a molecule in the body that works in isolation. Like we learned that, so obviously when we started Young Goose, it was basically like a pivoting off of, we tried to, save people from paying like $1,000 to get an IV of NAD. And we tried to have an transdermal application, but we found out that the skin loves it too much. We pivoted and we made Lemonade a la Lemons, made a skincare brand, right? But what we found out is that NAD in isolation doesn't do any, unless you have like something going on, like eczema, psoriasis, things like that, dermatitis. It didn't do anything because your skin doesn't know repair is something it needs to do. There's no, demand for extra repair, right?
Sure.
So the entire premise of the company is like, okay, you need youthful, functioning skin, but you also need some communication that you actually want to repair things, right? Like the more you have that youthful function side, the more you could ask for repair, but remembering that's very limited, though.
Got it.
Yeah,
makes sense.
So, but you do have some staples as far as like things that you would do and not do, as far as like day-to-day skincare regimen. For example, so what are some of your cornerstones? For example, I know that you recommend washing the face only once a day.
That's the biggest one. It's the biggest tip I give, and I've just been doing it forever. And I realize that, not everything has to be washed away. To be honest, this might be TMI, but I don't even shower. Like I shower probably every 3 days and just wash the pits and parts is what we call it. I don't find it necessary to be constantly washing and scrubbing and removing your natural oils and your skin and your sweat, and these things contain natural peptides. Like it's really healthy for your skin and your body. Like my skin is hydrated all the time because I'm not stripping it down. So that's the first thing that I really recommend for people that feel like they're just so dry, or there is a difference between dry and dehydrated. So it's kind of figuring out what exactly they're feeling, because they don't always know what it is. And usually when they're using a product and they come to me and say, my skin's just feeling really dry, I'm like, well, it's not the products. It's probably something in your lifestyle that's contributing to it. It's possible that like a specific layering component could be the reason why. But typically it's going to be more internal related when you're dealing with dryness or you're over cleansing.
Yeah.
So cleansing only at night is all I find necessary. You can double cleanse. That's after, you've had your whole day out in the elements, you have makeup on, whatever. Cleanse and, get in there really good and make it the best cleanse if you really need to. The other thing is, toners. I'm not a fan of, again, same idea though, stripping it down way too much. I don't really want to keep stripping away the natural oils. Scrub exfoliants.
It's also not 1985. So toners are like the toners are a component of a regimen which strips away oils And the reason toners exists is because old cleansers threw the pH of the skin out of whack, and you had to have something like to rein it back in. So right
Yeah,
now it's
and but
irrelevant.
what yeah, but at the same time, it was like making you even it was that feeling where you get that like tight skin feeling. It's like you can barely smile without cracking.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I awful.
Hmm.
And same with like scrub exfoliants. I'm not a fan of scrub exfoliants. They are just, and I did them all, it was that feeling of clean. I did all the St. Ives scrub every day. You just wanted like that squeaky clean. And I
Hmm.
just started to realize the less that I did these types of things and the less my clients were doing them, the better your skin looked overall
Hmm.
because you're maintaining your natural oils. You're maintaining your skin's microbiome. That's, it's its own little universe in itself, the same way that your gut microbiome is. So really not agitating that and just removing it. This is my problem with hydrofacials.
Yeah.
And, so I cannot stand them.
No, my problem with hydrofacials is also that they're illogical. Like you are everything, you know, there is our body works as a gradient. It flows from somewhere to somewhere, from high elevation, if you would, to lower elevation. It's different in the body because it's a pressure gradient, but you are sucking something out. And now you're selling me that you're also putting something in at the same time, by the way. It doesn't
No,
make, not only logic, by the way, it is not realistic. And if you are getting results, that's not because of that. So you should really understand what's the results there, and if there are any.
completely. And you're also pulling the skin with suction. You're
Hmm.
also, the bottle filled with gunk is like, okay, well, you just stripped everything away from your skin and then you put crap in it too.
Hmm.
So, the quality of their ingredients of their products are not going to be, I mean, it's just gimmick. It's a money machine. They sell these machines for a ton. Every
Hmm.
med spa or new esthetician gives into them. And it's unfortunate because it's all like a magic show. It's like, oh, look at
Yeah,
your beautiful glowing skin. And then literally within 24 hours, you're going to be, completely dry or completely oily because your body's trying to overproduce these oils that you just stripped away. And,
yeah,
it's madness. So anyway, yeah, those are the types of things that I am pretty adamant about. No toners, no scrub exfoliants, no cleansing in the morning. Those are my staples
yeah.
always.
Yeah, yeah. We when we created an exfoliation product, it was very important for us to create a product that actually reinforces skin barrier
Okay.
rather than strip it. And we created, so we actually have very specific beads that we have there
Okay.
that only apply pressure on the skin. They actually do not remove layers in the skin. So it's pretty cool, by the way. They're round.
That's good.
And what it allows us to do is to stimulate some renewal, but the main exfoliation is enzymatic, is enzymes that are preferentially preferring that skin or other ingredients in the skin that are malfunctioning rather than something physical. The,
Yeah.
the, the body doesn't work in overarching statements like we need to remove this layer or something like that. By the way, we go to your first point, which is logic. Nature did not evolve that way. We never had
Hmm.
something. Again, if you had something like that, you got burnt and the body is going to now create a scar.
Right.
Yeah,
And that's just like the natural way. So to be thinking about doing something to your skin that's like peeling off layers. And
yeah,
granted, I'm all about a gentle, peel that's, non-toxic and things that are only going to be beneficial to your skin, not something that's going to be that's causing downtime or damage.
yeah,
And to your point too, with like the enzymes, I mean, the only exfoliant that I use currently and recommend is an enzyme exfoliant because it's gently breaking apart those, little layers of extra dry skin buildup, the oils, some dirt. And you only want to do that like ever so often. I find that a lot of my clients that are, I'm consulting with right now, have it all backwards, and they're doing these like exfoliating pads,
Yeah.
twice a week. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what? And they don't know why their skin's so dry or so
Yeah.
unbalanced. It's like,
Well, we can see. So to your point, one of the things that we see are what products are we most replacing on the estheticians or the med spas shelf, right?
mhm.
And there are lines of products that are about 20, 25 years old, maybe 30, like in the case of SkinCeuticals.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, but these lines, one of their premise was we will push the skin as far as we can with renewal. And their culprit was normally AHAs, alpha hydroxy
Uh-huh.
acids, glycolic, pyruvic, and lactic acids. And the problem there is kind of over time. We now have 25, 30 years of data, right? We now see the people who were the same way you are faithful to the same skincare product for 15 years. Is it an anomaly? Yes, but there are more anomalies of people who were convinced like 20, 30 years ago and have stuck with that regimen for 20, 30
Mhm.
years. Sometimes we see fantastic results, but these results are very, very, very. So one thing that is what we see, and then there is fragility. There is kind of what happened to you when you're talking about like post Botox poisoning, where your health maybe is good, but it's very fragile. and,
Yes.
and we can see these people, they get bruised a lot. First of all, a lot of them have bad results, but even the ones that have good results, it's only on the surface, and their skin becomes bruised extremely easily. It has very, if they fall ill or anything like that, there is basically like a cliff that they fall as far as the way that they look. They lose a lot of volume, etc. They cannot sustain pretty basic procedures like microneedling because we've
Mhm.
demanded all of the reservoir, what we talked about before, all of that longevity has been tapped out.
Mhm.
So, and that's pretty crazy to see. So, to your point, there has to be, and again, I love the fact that we can revisit this conversation in 3, 6, 9, 12 months.
Yep.
You are now walking the fine line between like looking your best right now, building robustness or anti-fragility, and longevity, which could be their own categories.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why I'm excited to experiment, and actually, I'm nervous because I
Yeah.
don't want it to go wrong.
Hmm.
You just never know when your
Yeah,
skin's used to something for so
for
long.
sure.
But I am all about evolution. And that's the thing. It's like at a certain point, I'm very happy with my skin and my
Hmm.
skincare, but can we go the next step? And
Yeah.
that's something I think also a lot of my clients and my followers are interested in too,
Hmm.
because there is more out there. I mean, the product line that I work with now is great, but it's not gonna hold like crazy strength either, because it is more sustainable for most skin types, right? Like it's pregnancy safe and all of that, so it has to be on a more gentle level,
Yeah.
even though there is some more aggressive products and certain serums in the line, and they do have some stronger formulations that are only available to
Yeah.
professionals. So they have had that step up, but it's not necessarily making huge changes, so
Yeah.
that's okay too, because like again, I'm at a happy place with my skin, but let's see where it
Yeah.
goes from here, because that means just more recommendations for
Hmm.
people that are looking for that next level too. And I have a lot
Yeah.
of those
Yeah.
clientele.
And I would again personally say, Jamie, I think everyone from normally we try to keep it under an hour, and I couldn't help
Ugh,
myself. I keep asking questions.
I didn't
So
even notice. That's
so first of all, I want to say that if Jamie doesn't post about Young Goose in the future, the experiment failed. That's number one. But because I mean, you are a person that we would want alongside us in the journey.
yeah, I
So
want that too, because I
yeah.
think that there's a lot that we can, not improve upon, because I don't know the product line in and out yet, but I think there's a lot of things based on what my demand is through my clientele that we can really start to offer to people.
100%.
And I would love to, collaborate on much
What
more.
100%. Actually, like to agree with you, and then I'm gonna ask you some final questions because I noticed the clock, and I'm gonna Chelsea, the podcast editor, is just gonna kill me. Anyway,
Okay.
so to your point, we had green tea phytoserum, which is a product that improves red light therapy, but we had a pretty big red light therapy company come to us and say, "Hey guys, here's." They're super, super scientific. They're like, here's what we would like to be improved. Not what you think should be improved in red light therapy. Here are the things that we feel should be boosted in red light therapy. And we had to go back to the drawing board, and it took us like 2.5 years.
Wow.
And we're almost through. The product maybe is going to be called FLE, which is fluorescent light emission, I guess. And this product helps red light therapy repair DNA.
Wow.
And
That'd
by
be
the way,
incredible.
yeah, by the way, it does another thing, which is we spoke about the fascia, getting to the fascia. Elastin mainly, but a lot of proteins, components in the skin are built to glide over each other. And as we grow older, that polarity changes and it becomes sticky. And of course, anyone who's done like fascial work would know it from like a more functional point of view. Like you need to kind of break adhesions, right? But there is a chemical component which we are trying to achieve, and we achieved it, which is reversing again that polarity and allowing for gliding again from a molecular point of view, not only from re-breaking that stickiness. So anyway, that's for a different day. But
we're excited.
First of all, it's very important for me specifically that our audience has the ability to reach out and work with people that I think are doing an incredible job. So let's say someone heard our conversation, lasted an hour and 20 minutes, and it now wants to work with you. How would they go about doing that?
Well, I offer virtual consultations, skincare consultations. So that's like 15 minutes one-on-one. We go over, what your goals are, what your current situation is with your skin health, your concerns. And I create protocols, personalized skincare protocols, because I never think that anybody should really be blindly picking out their skincare. I feel like that's setting yourself up for a little bit of failure and frustration. Yeah. So it should be an entire system that you're working with somebody from start to finish and know exactly what's going on with your skin. And you have somebody to, rely on that can help make adjustments. I mean, nobody's going to know until you start somewhere, right? Yeah. But you at least, you're not just buying something and then just kind of left to either put a half a bottle in a drawer someday. You really want to be able to pinpoint what's going on and what your skin likes and go from there and build a proper skincare routine. So that's one way. I also have an online program, so that really helps to address the root cause issue. It's just from start to finish. Like you figure out what's going on with your skin, from any kind of disorders you want to address. You go over, proper skincare regimens from start to finish, and you go over how to implement a proper diet, a whole food, real diet, so that you're not compromising your gut health in this process. Because no matter what you do on the external, if you're not fixing the internal, it won't matter.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Great, fantastic. And you write fantastic blogs.
Oh, thanks.
You just had one about why clean skincare is bullshit.
Yes.
And of course, we spoke about it before. That's the new most deceiving marketing term of the 21st century, I think.
Completely agree.
What I coined as clean washing. And
yes.
Okay, so highly recommend the blogs. Highly recommend your Instagram page.
Thank you.
50K people will agree with me, but I am one of them. Yeah. So super recommend it. And anything else? Obviously, everything's going to be in the show notes, but anything else that people should know about, like how to consume information from you, how they should reach out, things like that?
I think Instagram's a great platform. My websites I have 2 of them right now. They're going to probably go down to 1. But yeah, just, DMs or clicking the links. I have so much resources, free downloads from meal prep guides to skincare guides to a 7-day, morning, noon, and night regimen. I have as many things that I can offer to people to kind of get them set up for success. So all of that is available through
Fantastic.
my Instagram.
Fantastic. Okay, Jamie, thank you so much. It's been great.
Yeah, we'll have to do it again.
Yes. We will do it again soon. Guaranteed. All right.
Please.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.